Hello everyone, and hope you're doing super great. So today what we're going to do is to create a character in Moho, and I'll try to create a basic rig of that character. I have a few sketches. I'll just go ahead and quickly show you the sketches. We'll just pick one of those sketches and use that. So first I have Jobo and Mizo. I like naming them very weird names. And let's see. So I'll just quickly double click this. It's supposed to open up usually. So this is the character. And this one, you can just see the eyes are closed. That's the default front view. And we also have this one I called Bolo. Yeah, yay. This one's super cute. We can actually sketch out this one. And what I try to do because I'm going to be using Moho, I'm always thinking about the skeleton and how I'll create this skeleton to just rig the nice little character. Simple character, simple design. So let's use this one. I like this cherry pose. I'm not the original creator of this character. I believe I saw something on the internet and tried to recreate. But yeah, credits to the original creator of this cute little fun guy. But I just tried to imagine and recreate this. So let's try to create this using Moho. It's a very simple character, nothing too complicated. We can do this one as well, but I just seem to like the other one. It's so cute. So that's Bolo. So first let's fire up Moho. I'll just hit it right here. And what we're going to do is just import the artwork immediately it starts. Let's give it a few seconds there. Made the background, by the way. Yeah, awesome background. Best background ever. I believe I clicked this to start. Yeah, that's cool. So in case you open up Moho and you notice it's not light, this is Moho, trust me. I'll just show you how you can do that. So go to edit, go to preferences, and here where it says appearance, you can drag this to make it super light or super dark. I believe for a nice tutorial, a light theme is the way to go because everyone can easily see what you're doing. So the first thing we can do is to create an image layer. Or there are two ways we can do this. We could just go over here and minimize this, and I'll just press Windows and the left arrow key, and it's going to show me other things I have open. I have this, so I'll just do Windows and the right arrow key. So yeah, that's going to keep one on the left and keep this window on the right. If I do that, we can float. Basically, this is not the window I want. Actually, I want this folder where the files are. So I'll do Windows right. Good. So you can see we have this window here, Windows left, and we have that window over there. It's just going to have this open. So now we can just go to our scans. Oh, there it is. We'll just click and drag this in. And you can see we have our sketch right here in Moho, and it brings this in as an image layer. What we can do now is to just size this. So I can just I'll click the zoom icon and just zoom out a little bit. And I can use the hand tool and move around. By the way, just right clicking is going to do this, and then shift and right click, you can use that to zoom in and out. So I'm just right clicking and holding this. Now this is quite large for this layer. Let's see if we can use I'm on layer 0. Yeah, good. So I just clicked on the transform layer, which is M, and I want to zoom out a bit till I can see those handles like that. And I'll just click the layer tool again and then go over here and just scale this down till it's, yeah, I think that's not a bad spot right here. Yay. What we can also do is to turn down this layer's opacity. So to do that, I could just right click and go to quick settings. I don't think the opacity option is here, so we just double click on this, and here where it says opacity, I'll set this to, let's try half. So that's 50%. And I think, yeah, this is not really bad. So the idea is to create this character based on the layer system. So we create the body, create the hands, create the tail, the mouth, nose, eyes, eyebrows, the hair, and the ears. It's a very basic character. And I encourage you to actually, create very basic and very simple shapes. One of the best tools to use, let's go to this layer. And let's create a new one. So I'll just go here and I'll just say layer. And let's pick something to start with. Let's start with, let's start with the face. I always start doing the face. So, and if you can name a part of a character, then it's best to have that part be an object on its own. It's the best thing to actually do. So yeah, and let's use the draw shape. I'll just click on this, and over here at the top I'll click on oval, and I'll just drag this oval right now. So yeah, we'll just drag an oval, and if I do this, it's going to create another one. I don't want it to create another oval, and what I'll do is to get rid of the fill. I just want the stroke so I can see through. So what I'll do is to go over here to the select shape tool, select this shape, and then turn off that fill, and you can see we have a stroke here. To move this around, I'll just hit the transform points tool and then drag this like here, and I can just zoom in a little bit so I can just see that focus is on that face. So what I want to start doing now is to go over here to the transform points and click on this shape until I can see those Bezier handles. Right, so with the Bezier handles, what we can do is to start aligning this shape and placing things around like that. So you can see we need more points. So here's one way to play around with these points. We can play around with these handles. You can see that, but one cool thing to do is to use Alt. So I'll just hold Alt, and then you can see I can drag this and drag this to the side. Now I can push this edge in, and I can just hold Alt and pull this until it sort of matches with this shape here. Now I have another one here, so I can choose either side. I'll just choose this side, hold Alt, and pull this. Make sure I drag this down a bit. Drag this down, and here I'm just going to do Alt and pull this. Now I can see we have a problem now. We only have one more edge. So how do we add more edges? Simple. The next tool beside the transform points tool is the add point tool. So I'll just click on that, and I'll go over here and add one point here. I believe we have another one here. I'll just hide the vector layer and see that I have to add 2 more points here. So I'll go back to the face, and add 1 point here. Make sure we're on the add point tool. Add 1 here and add 1 here, because I'll need to manipulate those Bezier handles. So let's go back to this tool, select this point, so you can see we lost these Bezier handles. Let's pull this one back. So each one we created did not have those Bezier handles. So why is that happening? I believe I have this called sharp corners turned on. Let's turn it off and then create one, and you can see we have that handle. So I just learned that with the sharp corners on, it's not going to give us what we need. So I'll just undo and then put those points back, but make sure sharp corners are off, so we could just have smooth points. 1 here, and I believe I put 1 here. So now that we have those Bezier handles, let's go back to the transform points tool and then quickly set this shape here, and this one's around here like that. So this over here, we can just pull this down a bit, push this here, then drag this edge, and we can push this here, drag this edge. I'll just zoom in to show you what I'm actually doing, and I'll move this up here. So basically I'm just lining up these points, just lining everything here to make sure it lines like that. Yeah, and I think that's not fine. So that's the head shape. You can see that. We can turn off our so-called sketch layer and see we have a nice little shape for our character's head. And I can actually see we have something going on here. So I'll just zoom in on that part and move down a bit. And you can see we have an issue here because that's where we... So to fix this, I'll just pull up this edge here. And we're just trying to make this one as nice and curvy as we can. Doesn't have to be perfect. We can just make it aligned. And you see, it's not really too bad. Yeah, like that. If you need to adjust the general shape, we can use the curvature tool. And you can actually see what it does here. Pretty much the same. So it's going to add more curvature or change that to any of the points we select. So if I go to this point, I can add more curvature or just drag it down. It's a very nice way to add some of that variation. And with the curvature tool, you can also adjust these points. So that's our face shape. Let's try doing this hair shape over here. And this is elliptical, right? So what we can do is to use, I'll use the oval shape again and just draw out this nice little shape. Select the shape and say no fill. And I'll just zoom in and show you a nice little trick. So we have this edge. So if I select this and move it around, you can see we just have a nice little curve here. I just want that curve to show. So what I can use the hide edge tool and select any edge I want to hide. Now I can go back to the transform points tool and then move this edge. I can edit this one and pull it up like that and then drag this here. So that's one part of the hair. And also you notice that this is on 4 pixels. So if I wanted to change the size, I'll just use the actually this name the select shape tool, yeah, and then I can go over here to the stroke and I can change the size of that stroke, but I'll just leave it at 4 pixels. Alright, so for this shape, let's use the add points tool. So I'll click on the add points tool and make sure you have all these selected, and I'll just click on this point and drag, click from the last point and drag, click on this point and drag, click on this point and drag, and then I'll click this back to the last point and you should hear a little click sound. And what we can do is to hide this edge. So we'll click the hide edge tool and I'll just click this edge to hide this edge, and I don't want the fill, so I'll make sure I click this and I'll go to the fill and get rid of it. And what I can do now is to select my points and then begin to adjust this line to make it fairly look like the other initial line. And there we have that little hair point on our character. Right, you can see. So now you notice when I said we should separate these. Now I have the face and I want to just call this the hair. So what I'll do is to use the lasso tool, and the select tool rather, turn on lasso mode, and I'll just make sure I go around this shape, and I'll hit Ctrl X to cut it, and I'll click on new vector shape. I'll call that hair, and then paste that. So what that means is I have this separate and I have this separate. You can see how they're both separated. Let's quickly do the ears. Let's use the add points tool, and I'll just click and drag, click here, drag down. All right, click here, then click to, whoops. So I'm not really, let's just undo that. So I'll just zoom in closely just to look at this. So go to the add points tool, click here, drag, click here, drag, then click here and drag to the first point, and I'll hide this edge. So I'll go over here and click on this edge to hide it, and I'll click using the, why do I keep forgetting the name of this tool? Select shape tool, good. And I'll say no fill, just so we can see what we're doing. I'll click my points and click on these Bezier handles and try to just quickly and roughly align the shape. So here I'm going to hold Alt just to bend these handles like that. If you need more precision, you can always go to the curvature tool just to make this curvy and whatnot. So that's for the outer ear fill. So let's do the inner ear. Add points tool, click here, drag a bit, click again and drag, click and drag. Okay, so it actually snapped and completed this, which might not be what I want because it's grouping these two together, and I don't want it to do that. So I'll just undo this and just try to carefully do that. Click and drag here, click and drag this shape. Now this is what I want, so I'll hide this edge like that. Select shape, say no fill. Now instead of doing that, there's a better way to do this. Actually, we can create a custom brush, and then we can use that within the custom style rather on the style palette and create a style without a fill, and then we can always create a use a brush without a fill. But since this we're just starting, I wouldn't want to overwhelm us with too much info, so I'll just click on this guy. So I'll use Alt just to make this slightly sharp, and just drag this down a bit. So yeah, I like how this section is slightly bent like that. Yeah, so that's our ear. So let's select this shape. So I'll select this one and hold Shift and select this one. So I have them both selected. So I'll cut and create a new layer and paste it. And let's just paste, let's just call this ear. I can also just right click and go to quick settings and just call this ear. Just like that. So we have an ear. Yay, we're going somewhere. You can see we're doing this, right? We're doing this. We're creating our character. Little by little, we're creating our character. We have the ears. I'll just call this ear underscore L for left. And I'll call this ear underscore right. Let's cheat. Let's cheat. Let's duplicate this. I think this is the duplicate layer. So let's duplicate this. Oh, it says ear left too. Yeah, just leave it like that. No problem. It didn't hurt anyone. And what we want to do is when we select that, we'll select both of them. So I'll hold Shift and click this one too. Or can hide all our vectors. Use the lasso tool to select everything. And we can flip this horizontally. And then we can use the transform tool and move this over. And we can rotate. I'll show you how to do the rotation real quick. So I'll go back to the transform tool. And now we can rotate this guy. Place it over here. It's slightly thin, so I'll just scale it down a bit. And what we can do, since this is a vector shape, we can select our points and then edit those points to see that? You can always change things. Let's change this one. We can even hide this edge. So I'll hide this edge. You can see how interesting this is. So we can bring back our other layers. And we can zoom out a bit. Usually I'm a lot faster with the mouse. So what we're going to do now is to create let's do the mouth. I really like the mouth, it's so big and cute. For the mouth shape, we can use this shape. Select, say no fill, zoom in on the mouth, and let's move these points here. This one up, this one, and drag this one down a bit, and then pull this, push this edge. I'll hold Alt here. And you can see the mouth, right? Nothing too bad. For the mouth, I want to use the fill. So I'll select the shape, go to the fill, and select a dark color. Nice. Now you can notice this edge is a bit pointy. That's super nice. That's a really nice shape for the mouth. And we are on the ear 2 layer. So let's use the lasso tool, select. Let's cut, create a new layer. Let's call that mouth. And let's paste that. Now's a good time to super save. So I'll save this. And I'll call that Bolo. You can call it any name you want to call the character. Let me take a sip of water here. And let's keep going. So now I want to create this nice little eye shape. And it's pretty much going to be the same thing, but I'll just use the add points tool. Let's drag here. Whoops. I always think I'm using Illustrator. So drag here, drag here, drag here, drag here, drag here, and drag here. Yeah, you can see it just filled that shape up. Let's use the select shape tool and say no stroke. We just want this to be a fill, and you can see how nicely it came out. Remember, we can zoom in as much as we want, as detailed as we want, because this is actually a vector, right? So we can make this, and remember our curvature tool. So if you want to make it more curvy, like that, curvature tool is really a lifesaver when it comes to making something quite curvy. So I'll just make this like that. Now let's just quickly zoom out and see what we got here. Yeah, it's not bad. So again, I'll just cheat and duplicate that shape. So I'll select everything. I'm on the select points. Lasso select this guy, cut. create a new vector layer, and let's call this I, and let's paste it first. Then we'll duplicate. It's going to say I2, which is fine, and we'll just flip this and drag I2 and rotate it. Sometimes getting the rotation symbol to work is quite annoying, but you can just see what it did here. It appeared, then disappeared. Okay, good. So let's just rotate this guy here. So those are our eyes, and then let's do the brows. Cool. Let's do the brow. I'll go to the add point tool. So you see, the add point tools gives you more precision. So before you get pissed at Moho and be like, dude, I don't like the add point tool, there's also the freehand tool. You can use the freehand tool to create a shape like that. You can see how that came out, right? It gave it a weird little blobby thing, and apart from that, it's adding lots of these points, and some of these points are not really coordinated. You can see how they are. You need to start fixing them, right? So that's why, for some reason, I stay away from the freehand tool. I'll just rather drag my points with the add points and try to follow the contour of the shape using as few points as possible. Now that's our shape. I'm going to get rid of the fill, the stroke rather. So I just have the fill, and I'll use the curvature tool just to, have a feel and adjust this. Let's go back to my transform points tool and then try to adjust these points. I believe that's thin and a bit sharp, so I'll use Alt, hold Alt and drag these angles like that. Nothing too super complicated. One thing about the like pen tool anywhere, it could be Photoshop, Illustrator, it could be in what's the name of it? There's this free tool, free vector art tool. I don't remember the name. If it comes back to my head, I'm going to tell you the name of that software, but it's a very Inkscape. Yeah, it just came. I just thought about it, and woo, we have Inkscape. Now I noticed something going on. If I'm not on a specific layer, sorry, the electricity came back, so on my machines, my HP printer is like, it's so weird. So I'll just click on this, and yeah, apologies, I have extremely noisy neighbors. I have closed the windows. I have talked to the people I can. I have begged them, but the cat and the baby, my best friends, they always seem to jump in my recording. Really sorry about that, guys. That's what you deal with when you're broke and you don't have money for your own accommodation. And I think that neighbors, nanny and the kid, they're just having the best time of their lives and ruining my peaceful moment here. But no problem, it's fine, totally fine, I'll survive it. So let's do the brow and the nose. So I'll just go over here and click drag. Whoa, you see that? It was kind of close to this point, so it snapped and closed. So that's what you get when you have points that are close to each other. I'll drag this over here and try and use some finesse. So click and drag away. Click and drag here. And we'll get rid of the stroke and just leave this like that. Now I noticed this is a bit more defined because we have like maybe an additional point here. We can add one here, and then we can manipulate that point just to make it slightly different. And I want to make this edge a bit peaked like that, a bit sharp. So you can just see it there. It's something we can always change. Now I've done a lot of things in this layer and I won't need to separate them. So I can have the freedom to rig or animate each of these. So that's the concept. That's why we're separating these guys. If we turn up I1 and 2, we can actually see that I1 has its own layer, this eye, but I2 has its own layer as well, but the brows don't have that. So let's separate the brows. So I'll use the lasso tool and just do this, right? And let's cut and create a new layer. I'll just call that brow and paste. And it's going to paste it right in the same position. So I'll go back to I2, use the lasso select and lasso select this eye, and then cut that. And let's create a new layer, vector layer. I'll just call that brow 2, second brow, and paste that. Just paste it in the same location again. Now let's do the nose. For the nose, I'll just use the shape tool. Just fill this up here and use the transform points tool. And we might need to really get in close. Get in close. If you wanted to, for some reason, see what you're doing underneath, we can drag this opacity down to like 30%, so we can actually see through the drawing underneath and see what we need to do. So I'll go back to the transform points tool and just drag this down, and I'll just hold Alt and push this handle up top, and I'll get back here and set this to 100%. So we just see that. Now we can choose either to, I'll just get rid of the stroke. I can see it's made it smaller. What I can do is just scale this up a bit. So we just scale this up to make sure it fills, or we can use the vector points tool to just drag things around and make sure it's nice and tidy. Again, we wanted more curves. I'll use the curvature tool to just make things super curvy. I believe I don't need this point, so we can select this point and delete. You can see that, see what that does. So the fewer points you have, the better. If your shape is looking too, how do I call it, uncurvy, you can always, get rid of excessive points and you should be good to go. Wow. Usually it's a lot faster when I'm just working and doing stuff, but because this is a so what I'm going to do next is to create the arms and the body together. I don't want to separate them. I could just use a bone and say this is the region that's going to influence this, right? We can totally do that. But again, I'm going to stick to my rule and say, hey, you know what? I want this. So I'll create the body. And this time around, I'll create a new vector layer. And I'll call that body. Hit OK. And let's drag an elliptical shape. Now you can see we're using just basic shapes. Nothing too crazy here. Right? Transform points tool. Select one of these points. Just drag this guy around. And you can see it's just covering what we have there. Again, if you wanted to get more details, we can set this to about 30% and zoom in a bit. And now we can get back to our transform points, select our points and start matching the shape to make sure it lines up with our initial design. Nothing too complicated here, just a regular mini body. Here, I'll just hold Alt. I'll just leave it like that and drag this part down. Alright, cool. Let's set that back to 100. I'll just quickly type in 100. And what I want to do now is, like, I notice this is super weird. So what I want to do now is to get rid of the stroke. So let's go to our select shape tool and let's say by stroke and just leave the fill. Actually, what I want to do is to get rid of the fill and leave the stroke. Yeah, let's leave the stroke so we can see through what we're doing. So next, let's create the arm, legs and tail, and we can actually call that done. You can see how fun this is. If this is your first time using Moho, it's very annoying, especially when using this tool. People hate the pen tool. I know people for years hating the pen tool, but it's actually a very good tool to get used to. It's actually the add points tool, by the way. I'm just going to click that real quick. But first, let's create a new layer, vector layer. I'm going to call that arm, and I'll create this arm. So I'll start from here, drag, and click and drag to have that curve, and click and drag, then click and drag over here, and you can see that. Select the shape and say no fill, and let's hide this edge, this one. So what we can do now is to select this point and just move it around till it matches up with our design. Doesn't have to be perfect, just make sure it matches, and it's a good, nice little match. Let's do the same for this leg here. New layer, vector. You know, we could actually make our lives easier. Let's make our life easy. I'll delete this guy. I'll duplicate the arm. It's going to be called arm 2. I'll select it and move it down here. Now, you notice there's a center here. This is the axis of rotation. If I try to rotate from here, it's rotating from that center. I want it to rotate from this point, such that if I rotate it, it's just going to rotate and snap here. Nice little trick. Now let's select these points and then drag them down here. Pull this one and drag this down here. And we're good to go. I'll just make sure this is here. Alright, very simple stuff. This is actually a leg. I'll just double click on that, call that leg. Lego. So what we'll do is duplicate this leg and flip. Okay, I need to be on the transform tool to flip. Then we can grab and drag this over here, and I can see this leg is actually quite bigger than this leg. I'll leave it like this, but slightly tweak it. So I'll select any of these points and just drag this down a bit. I think it's already different from that leg, so I'll just leave it like that. Now we'll go back to this arm. So we'll go to this layer where this have this arm. Duplicate this arm. Oops. Yeah, we've done that already. Make sure we're on the transform. Flip this guy. Drag it over here. Almost done, right? We're almost done. So I'll click on this and pull this up here. And rotate. Rotate. And I'll just use the transform points. And an exercise like this is very good because I want to make sure it just lines up to this point here. Yeah, so this is what I was actually trying to show you the other time. So if you're on a specific layer, all the other layers become blurred. But if you want to use display, you can, I believe you can improve the quality somewhere here. Side by side, 4-way. You can actually change the quality of the display. I'll just zoom out here. Alright. And we're left with the tail. Tail. And yeah, it'll be nice to use the add points tool to just create this tail. So I'll just start from, I'll zoom in first. Here. And another set here. Here. Maybe here. 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 Then here. And we'll get rid of the fill so we can see. And let's go here and start adjusting this. We might try to use the curvature tool just to get things to line up. So it's not helping. I'll try Alt. Push this edge here and then drag this. Now that's a weird looking tail, if I may say so. So I'll just make sure I snap this. I'm actually rotating the canvas, and if you hold shift, you can snap at specific angles. I'll just bring this back. So I believe the shape is a bit, tail should be a bit bulky like that. And then over here, we'll have opposing edges. Okay, that's one thick cat tail. I'll just make sure I hide this, see where we're at. Okay, good. That's a cute creature tail. It's not a cat, it's a creature tail. And let's use the lasso tool to separate the tail on its own layer. So I hit Ctrl X, and right up the top, call that tail, enter, and paste this guy. So now let's see what we got here. Nice. What we'll do now is to just go down and get rid of this. And hey, look at that. We have our nice little character. Not looking bad, actually. Now let's not forget the pink chicks. Pink chicks. So here, that'll be really fun to do. We'll just place one here. And place another one here. And make sure these two are selected because I want them to be on their separate layers. I'll hold shift and click on these two and hit Ctrl X. Create a new layer and call them chicks. Chicks. Alright, yeah. So let's just paste that. So adorable. So cute. So adorable. Now what we can do from here, we can group the entire thing. So with Chikusa selected, I'll just drag this down to the face, hold shift and click this. And what we're going to do is to right click and then group with selection. And if I get back up here, you can see we have a layer called layer 18. I don't want it to be named layer 18. I'll just call this Bolo. That's our character called Bolo. So yeah, when everyone sees this, like, hey, you just have one character here. It was so easy for you to do. It was so easy. Tell them like, nah, there's a lot to this simple character. Imagine you have a very complicated character. That's why designing for animation is fun, because you reduce the complexity. You don't, if this cat doesn't need fingers, it doesn't need fingers. I'm not animating any fingers, so I'll just leave it like that. So what we can do now is to begin to rearrange or reorganize things, because you realize some layers need to be in front of others. And this is what I mean. So to achieve this, let's go over here. Now there's a tool to select the layer. I believe that's the layer select tool. Don't think it's here. Yeah, layer selector. If you select any shape, it's going to tell you which layer that is. And it's directly going to go to that layer. So this is the face layer. If I click on this, it took me to the face, which is at the bottom. So I'll select the face and then use the select shape tool to select that face. And what I'll do is to add a little fill color. So this is our cat's color. You can play around with it. You can choose any color you want. But I like that. This one here, might even try a little gray. I don't know. This seems to that one. This one seems to work. I don't think anyone has seen an orange cat before, so I'll just orange cat. So now this face is at the bottom, so everything is above it. What if we drag this face and put it up over here, say for instance here. Now we're not seeing the other elements, right? So put it up here and it's above everything. So let's put the face back where it should be. So now we can see the hair. The ears need to be behind the face. And what we can do is to group both ears together, this one and this one. So with two ears selected, I'll hold shift and select the second ear. I'll right click and say group with selection. And now we're going to call that ears. Right, so now we have that ears group. We want it to be behind the face. So we'll just drag this like that. And you can see we have the ears behind the face. Now we want the body to be behind the face. That is the body. And we want you, body, to be behind the face. Click on body and drag that behind the face. And for the body, let's use the select tool and go to fill, eyedropper, and eyedrop this color. Now you can see we have a couple of problems here. This hand should be the hand should be in front of the face actually. So let's do that. So I have arm and the other arm. So let's shift select the other arm, right click and group with selection. I'll just call that arms like that. So we're good. Nothing too complicated. Right, so we get our arms. And now we'll put that, let's see, our body's down here. I think the arms are in a good position. What I need to do is to fill the arms first. So let's go to our shape fill tool. So there, let's bring in the fill. We'll use the eyedropper to select any color. Let's do the same for the other arm. And turn on the fill. Click the eyedropper and select any color we want. So now we can notice there's a slight, just a basic little problem here. Let's see, let's try moving this arm. I think it's not bad. Yeah, we can leave our little arm here. And then for both legs, like that. Let's bring back the fill. And then for the other leg, let's bring back the fill. And then for the tail is going to be behind the body actually. So I'll just go down here. So I think I accidentally put the tail in the ears layer. It's supposed to go out. So click on it and then drag it outside. And we're good. So now we need to select the tail, turn on the fill, and then sample this color. I like how the tail is actually dark. That's super weird. That's a super dark tail. Alright, so let's try the ears. So let's go to the layer selector, select this ear, select that, turn on the fill. Let's use the eyedropper tool and select this. And let's do that for the second ear. Select this. So now we can go back. And you can see we have other character. So you can actually see something here. Like, I like how, yeah, we actually forgot to do this nice little, is it a neckband? Yeah, we forgot to add this neckband. So it's good to always look at our reference. And one thing I also noticed is the arm. So this arm is in front. This is behind. This is behind. This is in front. So I need to quickly fix that. And I noticed this arm is slightly longer. So what I'll do is to reduce the opacity of this layer to say 40% so I can see through. And I can actually see where that is coming from here if I just drag this. So this is our original arm. I'll use the layer selector and make sure I'm on in shape. Layer selector, select this layer. That's where the arm is. And I want this arm to be just like this. So go to my points tool, drag this, and then drag this here. Now for each arm to be separate, I need to take them out of the group and place one of the arms behind the face, just like I have here. So this arm is, this one is behind the face. So drag it out. And let's look for that face and put this behind the face. And now we can actually see the arms good to go. I'll set this back to 100. And here we can actually see something super nice. So what I'm doing is I'm using the layer selector to quickly select that layer. And then if we want, we can add that color along the body layer here. I think it'd be nice to change the color of that, neck, just to make it quite interesting. A nice little shape here. We can just draw it out. And yeah, it's actually a nice time to try the sharp corners. So here, 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 and here. So once we have a sharp corner, we can always, let's make this purple like that. Might decide to get rid of the stroke and then have a fill only, but I'll just leave the stroke. And what we can do now is to begin to play around with this. I'll hit the curvature tool. Okay, that may not be the best tool to use to create that. Right, using the sharp corners, I need something more organic, so I'll just get rid of that. That's a bad idea. So I'll just think about, hey, I want to do something here, here, and whoa, that's not a good thing. It's actually clipping to already existing edge. Yeah, I think that's much better. And what we can do is select any of these points. Remember, we can zoom in. Whoa, not that. Just wanted to select the zoom tool and then just zoom in on the shape. Again, it's looking super weird. I have too many points. I don't need these too many points. So delete this one. Delete this one. Delete this one. Just a few points is enough to sell everything. So let's zoom out. Drag this over here. And I want this to be in front. So what I'll do is to select this shape and cut it. Go back up. Let's create a new layer. We'll always eventually bring that layer back. So I'm going to call it neck accessory and then paste that here. I can always drag this and place this here. And what we'll do is just drag polo and drag neck accessory into this group so that we can always edit everything together. And I'll try to get rid of this. So I'll go to the layer selector, makes it easy to find something. And we'll select this guy. And we can delete this. And save. So now at least I can say, hey, look, we've actually done the tracing of this character. It was actually fun, nothing super bad. And we can do before and after. Yay. And I like how this ear is in front. So you can see some of these things. It's good to always compare your layers. So I like how this ear is in front of the face. So let's fix that. To quickly find where an object is, use the layer selector and click this guy. We know where it is. Now we want it to be in front of the face. So the face is here, and this area should be in front of the face. Yeah, so very simple design, lots and lots of changes. Let's quickly save. You don't want any magic happening. And you can see how we set everything here. There's still going to be some reordering when we're done. But yeah, that's quite nice little... you can see something here, right? You can see something here. This edge here, I like how this edge on the face is curved, but I'm losing that here. I'm losing it here, and it's part of the cuteness of this character. Part of the cuteness! So let's go to the face. Go face over here, and I'll just zoom in on that, see what's happening. First thing I'll do is just lower the opacity of this vector layer to about, say, 40. And you can see down there, it's just a little subtle change, and it's adding that difference. I'll add a point here. And what I'll do is to move that point like that, and then pull this one. I can use Alt to just drag this down So this will be a continuous curvy shape. And let's set this back to 100%. So yeah, always check your reference. Doesn't have to be super perfect. But yeah, I like how I'm just seeing that here. And I might even want to push this in, push this one out, push this edge here, just to give more cuteness. All right, so yeah, let's zoom out a bit. Boom. There we go. Nice little dude. Now we can go over here and so that's our character. That's our mini little cute character. Yeah, again, this body shape, one arm in front, one arm behind. I think I like how this line is continuous. So, but it depends on how we layered this guy here. If I go to this one, so I think this arm, now I know why. I know why it was actually hiding our shape here. If we drag this arm slightly away from the body, we can clearly see our line, but it's hiding our line. So it's one of those things that we need to really work on. I can put the body back in the front and then walk this arm or hide the edge of the arm, but I'll just leave it like that, not to make it too complicated. I want to do those few changes, so I can just have this sitting like that. Either way, thank you very much for watching. Hope you've learned how you can play around in Moho. In the second part of this recording, I'm going to start rigging this character. But to rig this character, all we need to do is to convert this into a bone layer. So I right click and say convert to bone. Now you can see a bone right here. Now we have a bone. And what we can do is to begin to draw our main bone. So for example, I'll go over here to add bone. I'll draw a nice bone by the side, right? Then I'll draw a stomach, a head bone, right? Then now, okay, that's totally wrong. We'll learn how to do bones in the next video.